Episode 100, Exercise, the Put Yourself to Sleep Fast, Bedside Notebook.
You're listening to the very best podcast in the world on health, wealth, and happiness. Please remember to leave a review and share with all your friends and family. And here is your host, Lars Hilser.
And there we go, folks. The 100th episode of the very best podcast in the world. Your source, your only source in the universe for personal supremacy through health, wealth, and happiness. Wow. When I started out on this interesting journey, there were a lot of technical difficulties and hoops that I had to jump through to get this show going to a degree of quality at which I was satisfied. So it took this show, I think, about a year and a half to actually get off the ground, not on the ground, but off the ground. And the journey has been a roller coaster ride, to say the least. And here's why. Now, when I started out, when the idea was born, let's start there. This show was supposed to be a persiflage against all of these asshole gurus who want to rip you off with their shows and their YouTube videos and their free information, which is to get you hooked and then to buy their insanely expensive courses and improve your life, yada bullshit, blah. And I was in, and then here's the catch. Most of these people have no real life experience to offer. Well, a lot of them, let's be humble and fair. In that they're just good commentators. They have a good method that they copied off someone else on the web to rake in obscene amounts of money from you, and desperate people who need comfort and confirmation. And I wanted to make this a very sarcastic version of the show. And then, like a lot of times in life, things came differently than they should have. In that, I got a lot of positive feedback from the first dozen episodes or so, where the listeners said, holy shit, this is so good, and the entire aspect of sarcasm and whatever devious intentions I had was gone. And that's why the titles of the episodes have become much more, disarmed, less provocative. I don't know what the term is that I'm looking for right now. In any case, the feedback that's come from this show or to this show has been so great and rewarding that, like I said, I've been transitioning this into something very serious, and I'm still in the process of transitioning it in that I'm going to be interviewing interesting people to get a take on their usually very unusual vitaes and their life journeys, to put into perspective that, the hamster wheel is not the end of the journey necessarily, right? This podcast is to be about inspiration, and it's about self-help, and it's about achieving, in a literal sense, personal supremacy through health, wealth, and happiness. And it's done so for 100 episodes, and we're going to continue the show in this format. And when this whole Rona thing has subsided to a degree, there's going to be, depending on how many interesting people are out there and willing to speak, there will be either a weekly or a monthly interview session with someone that's crossed my path in my life that, has had an interesting life to a degree. So that being said, let's get started with today's exercise, because it's not only the 100th episode, it's also Friday. So on Fridays, we do exercise Friday, which doesn't mean physical exercise. I hate that. So you're never going to see that. So, just to put your guard up. So this episode is about the put yourself to sleep fast, bedside, beside the bed, notebook thing. And the concept is insanely simple. Now, we all lead busy lives. That's kind of like in this day and age, I think, you can't, or it's, very hard, very difficult to lead a life that is not busy. You got your own agenda. Usually you've got your kids' agenda that you have to fit in your agenda, and then shit happens which shouldn't, and the day is fucked up before you even get to lunch, right? And some of our lives are so busy that we actually can't fall asleep over all the things that are keeping us occupied. And for some, the solution is actually to keep their phone by their bed and to write, shit that they need to do into their to-do lists for tomorrow. But, you've got the very interesting studies about radiation and how that influences your sleep. And, usually what we end up doing is, we put in a reminder, and then at the end of the day, you're playing around with Candy Crush, right? And it's only for 5 minutes. And then 2 hours later, you're still playing Candy Crush. Nothing has been resolved. And there we go. And this is true for very, very, very many people. And I got this as probably the predominant keyword in the feedback emails, that people are saying, God damn it, I can't get to fucking sleep because I've got so much stuff occupied in my head. And most of it is something that you could probably be doing with the 2-minute rule that we discussed a week or two ago on Exercise Friday, but you don't want to get up out of bed and you don't want to disturb your kind of shutdown phase. So what we're going to be doing is to tackle this issue. And in fact, it has helped me significantly. I banned the phone as a device to do that. And I took a fucking moleskin notebook and got myself a pen with an LED light on the top, so not to disturb my better half. She's quite light sensitive when sleeping. I'm not sure about the vampire analogy there, but anyhow, to be considerate, I got one of those pens, which, when you click it, it's got this LED thing in the front, and it, produces enough light so that you can scribble things down. Don't call it writing necessarily, because, you're laying down and whatever. It's about really getting it out of your head, flushing it out of your system, putting it on paper, because let's face it, if you fall asleep over it, if you actually manage to, you're going to forget about it, right? And that being said, it's the easiest thing to do to get one of these notebooks. It doesn't have to be inexpensive moleskin. Take a normal college, whatever piece of paper, legal pad, or whatever it is at the end of the day. Get yourself one of these pens with a light up front, so not to disturb other people, and you don't have to put the night light on, which is going to blind you, blah. Anyhow, take the shit down, and then in the morning, when it's, or whenever your journaling part of the day is, you create action items out of those notes that you scribbled at night. And due to the fact that once you've flushed it out of your head, and you have to visualize it, it's like, okay, you kind of, the thoughts go through your, whatever, left or right arm, depending on if you're a lefty or whatever. and go through the pen and then go onto the paper. And then you're going to be able to connect that with actually, okay, I can now fall asleep because I wrote this down, and there's no real reason for me to lose any more sleep over it. And it works. It's worked for me for, I don't know, ever since I was like 10 or 11 when I had shit going on in my head. And, sometimes it's not even something concrete that you can put into an action item immediately. It's a thought that you have that you need to continue in the next day. And that's when you actually, don't limit. That's what I'm trying to say. Don't limit yourself to actually just making, putting down thoughts that you can actually act upon. It's about really thoughts that you have, which you may need to continue the next day or whenever. But it's important to write that down. And then, like I said, you go into the journaling the next day when you've woken up, whenever, that is, whenever you've got your journaling time, and you'll be able to take these scribbles and then turn them into whatever you want to turn them into. So, drawing a line under it, because my jaw hurts still. Sorry, that was a nicotine cough. I'm detoxing. So, get yourself a legal pad or whatever it is at the end of the day. Look on, wherever you buy your pens, look for one that has an LED light at the front where the ink comes out. I don't know what's that thing called? The ink dispenser, whatever. There are pens out there on Amazon or elsewhere. And then, whatever it takes for you to, whatever thoughts you have, which keep you up at night, write them down. And next day, when it's journaling time, take the scribbles and then, just make action items or whatever you need out of these things. Important, again, and to mention it last but not least, is to visualize that you're actually draining the thoughts through your writing hand or your writing arm, your writing hand, the pen onto a sheet of paper, and visualizing that. It takes a bit of training, but it's easy to do. And then it's going to be a psychological bridge for you to then actually fall asleep. And refrain from using your phone or your iPad or whatever it is, because let's face it, you, as many others, and particularly myself, are not disciplined enough to put the thing down immediately. You're going to end up surfing somewhere or whatever it is. And that defeats the purpose entirely. In that sense, if you know anybody who has trouble falling asleep, send them this episode. God damn it, share it. That's what it's about. And subscribe to the podcast if you haven't. It's also important. And last but not least, I wish you a successful day and a sleepy, healthy sleep weekend. And I'm going to be in touch on Monday when we're going to talk about, I don't know what yet. I'm going to think that through over the weekend with a healthy sleep and a nap during the day. So in that sense, peace out, take care, and we'll be in touch on Monday. Have a good weekend, everyone.